Welcome to Coder Catch Up. My name is Jamie Jones, and this is like a new kind of format or thing that I'm trying at the moment. I'm going to call it Coder Catch Up Snippets. And the reason why I'm doing this is I've got lots of little thoughts, and I just want to get something brief out there. So it's not going to be super detailed. It's just going to be some quick random thoughts, brain dumps, and just publishing it out there and just seeing what people think and what other thoughts that they might come up with based on responses to it. So this one I want to talk about taking a step back with Rails 6. Now, I'm not specifically saying that using Rails 6 makes you take a step back. What's happened with me recently is I had an idea for a little project. No real business case or anything like that. It's just something I thought, that'd be cool to try and see if I can build this and if it's better than some other thing. So basically the problem with the sign-in system, I thought I'd create one based on some other experiences I've had, and I thought, this could be a cool little project to try, to spend a handful of hours or so on it. And I went to install Rails, so Rails new, and I hadn't done this in ages. It's always been just managing existing projects, upgrading to different versions of Rails. But this one was the very, very first one I've done from scratch in ages. And it got me kind of thinking, I started off like I'd normally do, Rails new, and I was about to install some gems that I commonly use. I've got a pretty big list of them. And I was going to pick out the ones that seem applicable to this project. And just before I started doing them, I'm like, Rails 6 is new, there's a lot that's changed, and there's a lot of features even in the previous versions of Rails I wasn't really using because I hadn't started from scratch and I didn't think to migrate. So like ActiveJob, for example, I still just use Sidekick by itself instead of migrating to ActiveJob. And so I took a step back and thought, do I really need these gems? And I thought this would be a great experiment because it's not a client project. I'm not time restricted. I haven't time boxed this. I probably should. You should generally time box everything. Otherwise, it'll just take forever to do. Constraints are good. So, started that. Thought, see how I go. And so far, the main functionality is kind of done. There's nothing visual at the moment. This is just all the business logic. And I haven't really needed much in terms of extra gems. Like I use Devise because I'm doing a little bit of admin part, as well as some other things. And then RSpec because, well, I'm not a huge fan of using Minitest. It's probably more so that I just haven't given it a go, a good enough go. So I did RSpec, a couple of helpers with RSpec, and that's it. And it's been nice to not have all the extra bloat. Now, I think there are going to be things when I get into it a bit more that I might like Log Rage, including that and some other things around that kind of tooling and development experience. But in terms of stuff that's going to be user-facing, I don't think I'm going to use. So taking that step back has really allowed me to reframe how I think about approaching projects. And one of the things that come out of this, besides like making the app lighter and not having so many dependencies, which more dependencies, more problems, right? It's made me think about the psychology around when we start new projects. And that being, we're so cemented into ways of like, we know this works, let's just use this, without taking a step back with each new project and going, okay, is there anything that I need to rethink about usage? Like, maybe I should use a different tool or a newer tool, or maybe I should try and use what is provided by a framework, for example, like what I'm doing with Rails 6 at the moment. These are the questions that come up, and I think that should be in the forefront of your mind before you start a project. Like, yes, you should have your processes and things in place, but before you go and touch some of those, maybe just rethink it slightly before you go to do it and think, is this still applicable? Is this something that needs to be amended or updated or whatever? So those are the kind of questions I've got, but I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Please leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to know if you've done something similar. Do you do this all the time? Have you even thought about this at all? I'd love to know. So that's all I really got. Hopefully I can get some responses for this because I think it's a great discussion. But other than that, make sure you subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when more content comes out, and hopefully I'll do some more of these snippet episodes soon and see what you think. All right, we'll catch you next one. Bye.